What is up, everyone? It's Quinn here, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking about something that a lot of fantasy football players value very heavily, and that is going to be safety. More specifically, looking at some of the safest running backs in fantasy football heading into the 2023 season. Everyone likes safety because when you draft someone, you want to feel confident that at the very least, they're at least going to pay off at where you drafted them. You don't want them to experience a major fall off. You don't want them to regress as a player. Like I said, at the very least, you want them to pay off where you picked them. Looking at these running backs, obviously we're going to be talking about safety relative to their ADP. If you're drafting Austin Eckler in the first round, you want that player to feel safe. But, I don't want to just list like the top 5 running backs or the top 3 running backs. So these guys are going to be kind of scattered from a mid-tier RB1 to more of like a mid-tier RB2. And when I was deciding between some of these safest running backs, there were 3 main factors I was looking at. The first one was just consistent production. We want to see solid, safe production over at least the last 2-3 seasons. The second one was a limited injury history. Even though I think people kind of get carried away when they throw the term injury prone out there, I did want to look at running backs who have been fairly healthy. That's not to say they can't get injured, but the odds of them getting injured are probably just a little bit less than some of the running backs who have suffered, some more injuries out there. And then the third factor is I wanted them to be at an age where it felt unlikely for them to just totally fall off a cliff. We know at the running back position, things can kind of turn south very quickly. So I wanted guys who, would probably be avoiding that age cliff at the position. So those were the 3 factors. I have 3 guys today. If you enjoy the video, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Going to be talking about my safest wide receivers tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. But let's jump into it. The safest running back, and this is going to be the most expensive running back, it's going to be Nick Chubb. He pretty much checks every box you'd be looking for in a safe running back. His production has been incredibly consistent, starting with his second season in the NFL. So in 2019, he was the RB10 in points per game. 2020, he was the RB7 in points per game. 2021, he was the RB10 in points per game. And then in 2022, last season, he was the RB6 in points per game, which on a point per game basis was his best season yet. So like I said, from 2019 to 2022, in the last 4 seasons, he has been at worst, a top 10 running back for fantasy football. And during that stretch, he's kind of found a nice pocket of point per game average. So he's been between 15.4 and 17.3 PPR points per game. In the last 4 seasons, he has rushed for at least 1,000 yards. And then he has also averaged 5+ yards per carry in all 5 of his NFL seasons. So obviously he's getting it done on the ground in terms of volume, but he also has just been wildly efficient in every single, season he has been in the NFL. Looking at the injury kind of checkbox, Chubb has been very healthy throughout his NFL career. In 5 seasons, he has only missed 7 total games, which for the running back position, that is very, very impressive. Hasn't had anything, major going on. And at 27 years old, a fall off at that age would seem pretty unlikely at this point. Now, looking at the 2023 season, I honestly think that Chubb carries that safety, but I also feel like he's in a spot to put together his best season yet here in 2023. With Kareem Hunt gone, the Browns haven't gone out and brought in competition. They didn't go out, bring in a third down back. They've kind of just laid low at the running back position, which I do think is a little bit surprising. Now, that's not to say they can't go out and bring in one of these veterans, but right now, when I'm recording this video, that backfield is pretty much Nick Chubb and then everyone else. So I've actually been someone who's been out on Nick Chubb in previous years. I, like the safety. He's been a very safe option, but I kind of thought he lacked that elite upside. I think without competition in this backfield, I think he has the extra upside of adding some work to his receiving work. And so I'm actually very in on him this season. I think he is a perfect combination of that safety, which is what this video is all about. But I also think he carries a really nice ceiling heading into the 2023 season. So Nick Chubb is going to be my first safe running back. My second safe running back is actually going to be Josh Jacobs. And I think he checks a lot of similar boxes to Nick Chubb and will actually be available at a cheaper price. It'll probably depend on platform. I think on ESPN, they're actually going back to back, which is kind of surprising. I know Nick Chubb is going well before him on, a site like Underdog. But looking at Josh Jacobs, he saw a huge breakout season in 2022, but even prior to his big 2022, he had actually still been a very consistent, fringe RB1 option for the rest of his career. So as a rookie in 2019, he was the RB15 in points per game. In 2020, he was the RB12 in points per game. And then in 2021, he was the RB13 in points per game. So we've got kind of two high-end RB2 finishes, and then we have like a low-end RB1. So right in that fringe running back one range. Then we look at 2022. He was the running back 3 in points per game. When we're looking at Josh Jacobs' workload, he's had a very solid workload on the ground in 3 of his 4 seasons. He's averaged 18 or more carries per game in 3 of those 4. And then over the past 2 seasons, he has seen a solid uptick in his receiving work. He has 50-plus receptions in both 2021 and 2022. Josh Jacobs has also been very healthy throughout his 4-year career. He has only missed 6 games, which same thing with Nick Chubb. When you're only missing, a handful of games here or there, 1 or 2 a season, for the running back position, you love to see it because that is the kind of position that carries the most injury risk. Looking at his age, 25 years old, honestly, Josh Jacobs is likely still in his prime right now. And even though he's had some decently large workloads, he's a guy who didn't really handle a ton of work in college. So I'm really not worried about regression or just him falling off a cliff in terms of his ability. Looking at the 2023 season, I think he's probably going to be seeing a similar workload. He's going to be playing under the same coaching staff. And just like the Browns haven't brought in competition for Nick Chubb, the Raiders haven't brought in legit competition for Josh Jacobs either. So I think he has like the floor of being a fringe RB1, which we've seen throughout the past few seasons. But I also think he has the high-end RB1 upside. I mean, because we literally just saw it last season. So Josh Jacobs, another running back who I view as very safe. Now my third and final safe running back is going to be Aaron Jones. And I just think in general, it's rare to see a running back being drafted as the RB17 in fantasy when they've been a running back 1 for the past 4 seasons. So in 2019, Aaron Jones was the RB3 in points per game. 2020, he was the RB4. 2021, RB11, and then 2022, the RB11 again. Now, I understand the ADP dip, is likely due to the departure of Aaron Rodgers. That definitely is a downgrade, but I still think that with that departure, I still view Aaron Jones as a safe option, and a lot of it just has to do, relative to ADP. You're not drafting him as if he's an RB1, you're getting him as a mid-tier RB2 option. And looking back at last year, that was a down year from Aaron Rodgers. It's not like Rodgers came in and lit it up and this Packers offense was great. This was not a great Packers offense, and Aaron Jones was still able to deliver an RB1 season. Over his entire NFL career, Aaron Jones has proven that he is a very, very efficient running back. His lowest yards per carry in a season was 4.6, and he's had 5.3 yards per carry or higher in 4 of his 6 NFL seasons. He's also been very consistent in terms of his receiving work over the last 4 seasons, which is that stretch where he has that really nice production. He has caught at least 47 passes and gone for at least 350 receiving yards in all 4 of those seasons. He's also been incredibly healthy, only missed 4 games in the last 4 seasons, so averaging 1 game missed per year at the running back position. You love to see it. And he's also just not someone who relies on a massive workload, which kind of makes me feel okay about his age. 28 years old, I think he'll be turning 29 during the season. You don't love to see it, but like I said, you're kind of getting him at a discount here, a mid-tier RB2. So even though he is getting up there in age, he's not a guy who's going to shoulder a huge workload. A.J. Dillon is still going to mix in, and he really hasn't shown any signs of aging, falling off. So I still think that Aaron Jones is a very safe option here heading into 2023 and is going to be much cheaper than the other 2 running backs I mentioned. So a quick recap, 3 safest running backs, or 3 running backs who I view as very safe: Nick Chubb, Josh Jacobs, Aaron Jones. Let me know what you guys think. Are you guys in on these players? Do you view them as safe? Let me know down below. But thank you all for stopping by, and I will see you in the next one.